Hello, hello. How is everybody? There we are. Now that's working. How is everyone? Are we enjoying our day today so far? Can everyone hear me? I had to set some stuff up because I got a new computer. So, I have to I had to reset a whole bunch of stuff. So, if people can't hear me, then sucks to suck. All right, sick. How are you doing, Maj? It's been a hot second. Oof, I've been doing stuff. I've been spending my time, filling my time up with stuff I enjoy. I had to take a break from conlanging for a hot second because of mental health. You know how that can be. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. Um, and whoops, once we get a little bit further in, I'll be talking about like some official stuff. But as of right now, I'm just want to catch up. Um, yeah. Today the big thing is I just want to talk about. Today I want to talk about the future of this channel. Um, and like where can see this, where I see Deep Solar go. You know. Um, Deep Solar, the channel was not always from the beginning. Deep Solar was this channel was a space to share my ideas, the things I enjoy. Um, so streaming wasn't streaming. I kind of stole the idea off of Colin Gorey, which you all know Colin Gorey. Um, but the whole idea of streaming my conlanging was not my own idea. I I just wanted to get out there and get a following. Um, but we that's what ended up happening. And sure, I got a little bit of an audience. I got a little bit of a following doing so. All of three people. um, but no, I made friends. Maybe the real live stream wasn't the. Maybe the real live stream was the friends we made along the way. But yeah, like you, I made friends and I have a small following, and I realized that hey, this isn't this is not serving me, you know. So this is not serving me to the best of my ability. So I took a break. Yes. Sorry, my girlfriend's in here. She's listening to me ramble and rave and rant.
You talking crap about me, bro?
Yes.
Yay.
Only.
Yay.
But yeah, like it wasn't serving me for a long time. And I decided that maybe I should take a break. And what I did, and it I started to contemplate like why why was I doing in this in the first place? And the big reason for me the big reason for me conlanging in the first place is to share my ideas and engage with a community. And I enjoy teaching, I enjoy instructing. Um, I enjoy being able to share my knowledge in something. And even if it is like, yeah, I have a conlang that does this thing. Like, yeah, I think that's a very valid way to express yourself to to share your thoughts and ideas. So that was the original idea of Deep Solar. So now we're looking at a space, we're looking at an environment where streaming is not the best for me, but I still want to work. I still want to work and do conlanging. So I figured I still want to work, do conlanging, and engage in this community that I love. I absolutely love being a part of this community. But what do you do when it doesn't serve you? You know? What do you do when this hobby that you love, that you've been doing, doesn't serve you? You look at that you love doing does not serve you well. You look at figuring out new ways to do it, you know? And that's essentially what this is. What this talk is about. I'm not going to be streaming as my main source of content. I am going to be making videos. And the biggest thing is that they're going to be like longer. Yeah, exactly, a new angle. They're gonna be longer, like longer in between. Like it's not like I'm gonna have a new video out each week like I used to, because that was one of the things that also wasn't serving me very well. Working constantly, like using my time in between breaks at work to edit videos, like aka just me sitting there and cutting out all the times I say or you know? Scripted content was always, at least it felt better for me to do, even though I started getting a handle on streaming. Making content out of the streams was always and I know the whole idea of like oh yeah, get an editor. It's fine, just get an editor. Well, Solar is broke. Solar ain't got no money. And as someone who's passionate about spreading knowledge and giving proper education, albeit very amateur, you know, it's streaming was not doing that, and that was not the reason why I started making YouTube videos. first place. Initially, my YouTube channel was just, here, look at this thing I did, and which it seems to line up with why I started streaming, right? But as I realized what I enjoy doing the most, which is, as I realized that I enjoyed teaching and showing people new things the most out of all of the aspects of conlang, streaming does not seem like the proper angle. Ooh, gentle with the eraser. So these videos are gonna be more well researched. It's not just gonna be me sitting down and saying I had an idea. Which, if you make that content, there's nothing wrong with that. I do not believe that there's anything wrong with, hey, I had an idea content. If anything, I was doing that. And in all honesty, that's still how I conlang. Hey, I had an idea, let's check this out. But I want to be able to pass on information through these videos that people can actually use, you know? That people can intelligently incorporate into their conlang. Resize. Yeah, just to give people ways to intelligently incorporate ideas that they may have had already, just stewing around in their mind, into a conlang that is trying to be naturalistic, you know? And I've been working on it. I've been working on it recently. This video that's going to be coming out. This video that's going to be coming out. The first video in this series of. I appreciate that, Majahadra. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. This first video is on small phonemic inventories, which let's check size for this. Small phonemic inventories. Oh my gosh, why is it so small? Interesting. I need to make that bigger. But yeah, this. Making sure I know what all these layers are. Yes. Merge layers, rasterize layers. Okay, they're already rasterized. Sick. But this first video is going to be about small phonemic inventories. Stuff like Hawaiian, Piraha. Resize. Let's transform. I want resize. Can I not just resize it here? Wow. Can I not just resize this? Stuff like Piraha. Oh my gosh, it's under transform. What? Transform selection. What? Man. Commit. Not me trying to just figure out how to work. how to figure out how to work Photoshop. Oh my gosh. Fine, we'll do it the hard way. Yeah, small languages with small phonologies like Piraha and Hawaiian and Rotokas, which those are something. They really are. Um, I looked at. Oh, I looked through a bunch of papers and I learned more in the past few weeks or few days about allophony than I did in all of my conlanging. Like, of course, I had the idea of, like, well, what if this weird thing happened? And you can say that yada yada and blah, 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 but, like, actually putting stuff with real evidence behind it is entirely different. You know? So, like, the whole thing of lonemes. Like, I talked with Sutton about this yesterday, and they helped me expand my knowledge on what the heck a loneme is. Um, I was introduced to the concept by Oivi Parker Jones, his 2018 paper on Hawaiian, and how he posits that Hawaiian has two groups of words, loan words and, well, not even loan words, non-codified loan words and native Hawaiian words slash codified loan words. He calls them he calls it lexical strata. And there's a core strata, which is native Hawaiian words, like pua'a. I forget exactly what that means, but that's an example he uses for the core strata, pua'a, and for the codified loan words. Codified loan words is like the ever famous mele, Mary, mele kalikimaka, Christmas. Mele kalikimaka is the Hawaiian phrase Merry Christmas, but after a certain point, those words, Merry and Christmas, became codified into mele kalikimaka. Now, we see that happen, and we see that happen in a bunch of languages and all that junk. But what really gets me is that there are 10 loaned phonemes, 10 consonants that do not exist outside of loanwords. And let me pull up the paper because y'all aren't gonna see it because I have it set to. I have my stream set to. What's it? Actually, how hard would that be? Just. We're gonna do some things real quick. Alright, here we go. So, for Hawaiian, we have the 8 normal consonants, 8 consonants that are normally understood as Hawaiian consonants. Mana, paka, la. But we also see 10 phonemes that only exist in loanwords. Ba, ba, fa, ta, sa, da, za, ra, nga, ga, wa. And we know, if you look at the history of Hawaiian and you look at the way, like, the words that are being loaned in, like bale, ballet, Finlani, Finland, potasiuma, Sidiala, CD, Waina. Like, look at the words that are being loaned in. It is 100%, like, we know that those are coming from bilingualism. 100%, no questions. Facts, no printer. But we also are aware that, like, eventually they become codified because of words like mele and kalikimaka. So imagine here, let me go back. Imagine you're working on a language that you are fairly certain has a small phoneme inventory, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it has 18 consonants. And I'm going to have to make an entirely new video on loaning. But, because I got a paper for that, we found a paper online for that, so... But yeah. Rhodocos. Let me tell you a little bit about Rhodocos. Because Rhodocos is a language. It is. So Rhodocos, that's a 10. I'll figure out how I'm going. Rhodocos is a language that's spoken in Papua New Guinea. And when I tell you that it is the most insane thing that I've seen, Rhodocos has 5 vowels, the normal 5 vowels, a, e, I, o, u. But it then has 6 consonants, 11 phonemes in total. Depending on your analysis, Rhodocos has, depending on your analysis of Piraha, which I get from, I'm getting my analysis of Piraha from Everett, 1989, I think it was, from the Handbook of, 6. From the Handbook of Amazonian Languages, Volume 1. 6! I counted them myself. But I'm getting my analysis of Piraha from Daniel Everett, 1989, 1989 Handbook of Amazonian Languages, Volume 1, which Piraha has 10 phonemes, but it also has 3 vowels. So, like, with Rhodocos, we're looking at the 5 vowel system, and then pa, ta, ka, ba, da, ga. So the allophonic variation there is fun because there is none. No, that's a lie. Should I give my guy a hoodie? His context. This is me now. Let's quick zoom in, I guess. Ugh. But yeah, Top Hat. I should give him a top hat? I like that. Easier to draw. Easier to draw than a hoodie? That's fair. Hold on, let's... Free variation in Rotocos is bonkers yonkers. When I say bonkers freaking yonkers, I mean bonkers freaking yonkers, my god. Let's turn this off. Or like, so that way I can make it look like he's looking in a certain direction. So what happens in Rotocos is oftentimes Budaga are not pronounced as Budaga, which is an interesting assertion because we don't know what Budaga really are. It's the paper Furchow and Furchow 1969, I think it was, says Furchow and Furchow 1969. Oh, there's more. Furchow and Furchow 1969 says that Budaga, well, it doesn't even use but like B and D. It uses non-IPA. It uses non-IPA icon. So, but, duh, and guh, or but and duh are represented by B with a strike, like a strike through, and R with a circumflex. So, just to say, we have no clue. We don't know. Yeah, it is preposterous. How dare. Actually, did I accidentally create something that... My god, can I just adjust this? Oh, what? I'm gonna... That's the wrong... -10... That works really well, and I like that a lot. But yeah, Furchow and Furchow didn't even say that, oh yeah, this is but and duh, it is some sort of R thing and some sort of B thing. Because is in free variation. That is the key. Is in free variation with is in free variation with wa and ma. And duh is always in free variation with ra and la, which is something that we would kind of expect. At least the ra, duh, and ra. Nope, that's wrong. But we'd partially expect that, right? Like, that's not too bonkers. But it's the fact that they're in free variation is the thing that really gets me. And I'll get to this later. But Piraha also does something similar with its phoneme. For the uninitiated among us, Piraha has a consonant described by Daniel Everett in his entry to in his entry phonetic rarities in Piraha, and in his reference grammar in the Amazonian languages of the Amazon. The is a phone it's a lateral double tap, lateral alveolar double tap with egressive tongue. AKA, you start with a r, and then you end with a r, where the key aspect of that sound is the like the fact that the tongue is pointing out. So I so free variation, yes. Egressive tongue. Egressive tongue. Yes, like throwing up. Imagine like you're dry heaving. It's that motion. plus ATR. I don't think that's just tongue root, Majahaja. I think that's I think that's post labial. Yeah, post labial. But we I say that I bring that up because Piraha does do weird things like that. Piraha is actually one of my favorite languages for talking about allophony. Because depending on the consonant, first facial. Depending on the consonant, there are a whole bunch of different other realizations, and I'm gonna have to read through it again because I was absolutely enthralled with the idea of linguistic strata, or not linguistic, lexical strata in Hawaiian. I was so enthralled that I actually emailed Oivi Parker Jones to get like some sort of clarification on it. Cause like, where does that come from? But he hasn't emailed me back. It's because he hates me. So yeah, like I have to read through the Piraha thing again, but I bring up because it's another instance of free variation where g is in free variation with the. Why? It gave some rule that I could not follow, but again, it's something that I'm going to have to look up again. But the reason that this is so intriguing to me is that in languages with small inventories, it is almost certain that you will have some sort of free variation. And not just between dialects, between speakers. So according to Daniel Everett's book, Daniel Everett's book, Don't Sleep, There Are Snakes, he heard when he was testing people for phonetics for the phonetics of certain words, when he was recording them, he would ask, give me this word. If it started with a P, sometimes, if it normally started with a P, that would be the first way they repeated it. And then he would ask them to repeat it again. And then they would start it off with a KU. Same speaker, mind. In Hawaiian, at least the way I understood it from the paper, that same thing happens with ta and ka. Mind you, ta is not in the normal canon of Hawaiian phonemes. Ta is just, it just came out of nowhere. So, no, they can't make up their minds, Majahadra. But yeah, as far as we know, ta came out of nowhere. Like in Hawaiian codified words. Majahadra, this is a family place. You can't make fun of your mother. But yeah, there are non-native okay. Going back to what I was showing y'all on the paper earlier, there are non-native Hawaiian words that have ta, right? And that comes from bilingualism, yada yada yada. But then there are entirely native Hawaiian words that feature ta. Why? And the way that we would describe it now is dialect change. However, if you look at missionary reports, the same missionary on the same island would take down notes on both, saying that both of these are valid words. But both of these are valid Hawaiian words. Even though it starts with a ta, or it has a ta in it. So, I mean, we look at that, right? And you have to think, like, what happened there? At least I thought what happened there. And the little bit of research I did about that seemed to just say, yeah, there are T dialects and there are K dialects. But a huge part of my research, a huge aspect of my research, was a paper by Ian Madison. It was his book on phoneme structure in languages. Hold up, let me see if I can. I believe it's this one. Hold up. So, Cambridge Studies in Speech Science and Communication, Patterns of Sound. I got most of my information about this. Mind you, 433 pages, by the way. That's... I did not read all of this. I read chapter 1. Oh, ooh. There it is. No. Hold up. Where is it? Oh my gosh. So essentially, typewriter. Where is that? Oh my gosh, let me get to the... Oh, okay. Yeah. Here we are. So, essentially all the first chapter got to was essentially the bigger the language, the more complex, the bigger the phoneme inventory, the more complex everything around it is. So, it's, if we look at uh, yeah, if we look at this right here, languages with small segment inventories, like less than 20, 6 of them, both groups contain 28 languages. So 6 of the 28 have contrastive stress. 7 of them have predictable stress. 2 of them have pitch accent. 5 of them have no stress, and then there's inadequate data for 8 of them. Then for tone, there's 2 of the 28 that have tone, complex tone. There's 2 of the 28 with simple tone. There's 22 of the 28 that have no tones, probably these guys up here. And 2 of them inadequate data. So, with smaller phoneme inventories, you get less suprasegmental stuff. Where if you look at languages with large segment inventories, you get 8 of the 28 with contrastive stress, 9 of the 28 with predictable stress, 2 of the 28 with pitch accent, 4 of the 28 with no stress, and then significantly less information, or significantly less for languages that do not have adequate data for it. And then, for tones, you have significantly more languages that have complex tone systems, almost twice as much that have, well, not almost, twice as much that have simple tone systems, significantly less languages that have no tones, aka the more complex your segment inventory is, the more likely you're gonna have tone. And then 5 with inadequate data. This paper is fantastic. It gives you diagrams. It gives you that's talking about some other things. It gives you like a compensation. If y'all don't know what compensation is in phonetics, it's this whole, or not phonetics, phonology. It's this whole idea that, like, if you have more simplicity in one area, you're going to have more complexity in another area. So if that were to hold up properly, then we would look at languages with small segment inventories and see that there's a whole lot more suprasegmentals. Or you would see, for compensation in phonology. Usually, in languages with smaller segment inventories, well, no, because they ended up proving against that. Not syllable structure, but word structure was generally much larger. You'll have more words with like 5 where excuse me, smaller languages with smaller segment inventories will have like 5-6 syllable long words, where languages with smaller or larger segment inventories will have 1 or 2 syllable words. Yeah. The problem is, we don't see that. It doesn't look like that happens. It's all of the things that make up for a small segment inventory are found in grammar and the lexicon. Which this paper does not touch on. Another thing that I absolutely love about this paper is that it gives a whole bunch of universals. It gives a whole bunch of universals, and then it notes when there are not exceptions. It's one of the biggest things, is like 24 languages with k but no p. 18 of these have b, d, g. Nasal consonants do not occur. Oh, wait. P does not occur without k. 4 exceptions in UPSID. Kyrgyz with Patakha, Dembe, Tseltsal, and Zuni. These last two languages have an aspirated velar plosive k beside unaspirated pa and ta. Right? It points out all of the different exceptions. K does not occur without ta. One exception is Hawaiian. Nasal consonants do not occur unless stops occur at, broadly speaking, the same place of articulation. There are 5 exceptions. Iwi, Efik, Auka have nya but no palatal or palatal alveolar stops. Hupa has ma but no bilabial stops. Igbo has na but no labioveolar stops. That I don't buy that for a second. It does have labialized velars. There are numerous examples of languages with stops at particular places of articulation with no corresponding nasal consonant. This entry to the list just says, yeah, yeah, about that, and then runs off. Voiceless nasals and approximants do not occur unless the language also has the voice counterparts. No exceptions. No exceptions, right? The exceptions have a lot more fanfare, but also the exceptions, when there are no exceptions, it is flat out no exceptions. So, like, it gives you a good idea, and then there's a good idea of what these inventories will look like, or what general phoneme inventories will look like. And it also gives you data on the phonemes that are going to occur most commonly in small inventories, medium, equally likely in large or small inventories, or more likely in large inventories. So you're more likely going to have put, ka, and nga in small inventories. So context in small languages, 89.5% of quote unquote small languages have pa, 93% have ka, and 59 have nga. In both small and large? No. In small inventories, 94% or almost 95% have ma. 75% have wa, and then as you get down here, it becomes smaller, right? We love ma. But I was looking at these data points and I'm like, this is interesting. And then I get to ya, and it just pops up with a 78.9. 78.9 of small inventories have ya. What? Mind you, they are defining their small inventory as less than 20. So it's bonkers. It's bonkers yonkers, my guy. I guess we should get back to. Here we go. Oh no, zoom in. Oh, but yeah, it's like these papers have been instrumental in. Yeah, we really like These papers have been very instrumental into my understanding of phonetics, as well as my understanding of how to build different phoneme inventories. And I might make a video on large phoneme inventories, but I'm gonna be honest, I think small phoneme inventories are much more fun. Because of stuff like Piraha and Rhodocos. Like you don't just have 6 phonemes. There's something about that makes it a little goofy, I think that's properly filled, or properly filled enough space there. Question: how do we feel about giving this guy pupils? Because I don't like the idea. I think it kind of takes away. Yeah, no. I feel like it's a lot more. I feel like it's a lot more expressive capabilities without the pupils. Like, giving him pupils. Giving him pupils out of nowhere does make it like. Does make him look more expressive. Because, like, imagine. Oh, all of a sudden, there's stars in his eyes. Yep. No, you're Gucci.
To get,
Right. But yeah, like giving him pupils out of nowhere and all of a sudden makes him super expressive. So I think we're gonna stick with no pupils for right now.
My fault, literally.
I'm aware. No, I'm fine.
bro. It's like,
Yeah, it is.
fine, I love you too.
I love you too.
Bully.
But yeah, so understanding, like, learning more about language and the way it works and the way that phoneme inventories work was really helpful to, like, my understanding of conlanging. There was actually a breaking point I had. I was talking with not Sutton. I was talking not Apollo. Sutton. I was talking with Sutton. That's not face. There we go. Body. Here, we can just give him generic. Wee. There. That's his body. I was talking with Apollo or Sutton way long ago, and he was telling me about Piraha and, like, how to analyze small inventories. It was actually on a stream. It was on a stream. It was that far back, and, like, it didn't click to me. I didn't fully understand at that time, like, what was the theoretical junk that he was getting into. The theoretical junk is huge, man. And I'll say it. I'm gonna go on record as saying this. You do not need to know theory to conlang. But it really freaking helps. It really helps in the aspect of it really helps when you are trying to create a language and understand it. And understand it on a level rather than I just wrote some stuff down and I translate. Is that valid? Do we give... Is he a sunflower? I don't think he's a sunflower. Ooh, excuse me. Unless you just want to write down and do some non-technical stuff with your conlang, which that's perfectly fine if you don't want to dig that deep. Why do I want to avoid sunflower? But if you only want to, like, write, like, a quick little grammar on it and do a little bit of translation and not dig so deep, yeah, that's fine. But learning theory it helps you gain. It helps you. Learning theory helps you gain a better understanding of your own language as well as just language in general. And as people who are trying to create languages, you would think that there would be some desire to understand language. What? Let's zoom back a bit. Let's look at this. How does that hide the symmetry? I like it. He's cute. But yeah, that's just me. If you wanna, I say that as someone who's dropped $30. Yeah, yeah, and like 100% Majahadra. That's like part of the thing with it, right? You learn to understand languages better, and if that is part of your goal as a conlanger, which recently that has been my goal as a conlanger, to better understand language and why language does the things it does. It's like theory is almost, dare I say, necessary? Because at a certain point you're just like, okay, why is vowel harmony happening? Well, I mean, take a quick look at optimality theory. Why can't we separate? Why is this a thing that languages will not separate verbs and auxiliaries? Well, certain languages will not. That was just a false statement. Why will certain languages not separate their adjectives from their nouns, right? They have to be right next to each other. Well, you can explain that with grammar aspects, and you can also explain that with syntax theory. Like different syntax theories, right? And part of this series, part of the videos I'm gonna do is essentially more like giving people a more advanced look into conlanging. Where if I look on a more digestible advanced look into conlanging, where when I used to look up linguistic stuff, it would be either absolutely impenetrable, or it would be Artifexian. You know? And Artifexian does explore some deeper concepts and ways to go at conlanging, right? But the big problem with it is that he doesn't dig deep. Because that's not necessarily his MO. His MO is not conlanging. Bibleridian's MO is conlanging. Bibleridian's MO is conlanging, but recently he's started to take on world building as well. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. That's not my thing. I enjoy sociolinguistics. I enjoy world building, but I enjoy world building and I enjoy sociolinguistics. However, I do like having that base in, yeah, this is how it affects the language and this is how the language affects the people. When I never world build to make a language. I make a language to world build to make a language to world build to make a language to world build. For example, the current project I'm working on has an honorific system that's baked into noun case, and I still have yet to figure out 100% how it would work. But depending on the noun case you would use with somebody, what kind of case you would use with someone, aka you wouldn't use a benefactive on someone you don't really value highly. You wouldn't put evocative. You wouldn't use evocative with someone who's an amigo, you know? So like I thought, okay, that's an interesting idea, which I still need to do research on honorifics, which that might be another video in and of itself. But like when oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, it's like, why does that happen in this language? It's not like case marking and verb agreement are very specific things that like only certain languages with certain cultural constraints would have. No. Those are just doing those things. Ooh, that's a fun design. Doing those things is simply something a language needs to do. It needs to figure out its roles. It needs to figure out its role marking. And it can do that in any sort of way. But when we look at it, there are often like little tiny pieces that are culture based. Context. So sort of like German. Think about German, the way it has the S, and then so there are two different forms of you in German. There's you as in I respect you, and you as in we are pals and we know each other. And you as in we know each other has a different form of agreement to you, I respect you. So, sure, every language has to do role marking. It's just German does it in a way that is informed by the culture. So, in the context of case in my personal project, yeah, I conlanged with an idea, and then I world built, and then I conlanged, and then I world built, and then I conlanged, and then I world built. Let's see if I can. There we go. That's nice. But it's stuff like that. I like to understand the way language works before I world build, and then once I understand how the language works, or if there are going to be aspects about the language that I won't understand, that I don't understand how they arose, then I world build. Which is kind of a controversial thing. You always hear people saying, yeah, you need to have a con world or else your conlang is going to be flat. And I agree. Your conlang will be flat if you do not have a con world. But it doesn't have to be like super complex and super figured out before you start conlanging. And that's why I like theory. Because I like to have the theory behind the conlang. Alright, let's figure some stuff out. I kind of want to do a thing. I don't know if you've seen Babalingua or like his video on Seraphim. But part of the charm of his PNG, I like that Majahadra. I agree with that. Um, part of his part of the charm of Babalingua's YouTube channel is like, for that video at least, is the fact that his PNG was moving around the screen constantly, and also was doing impossible things. Right? Like his PNG would be on this side of the screen, and then his arm would pop out on the other side. And I kind of want to do that. Oh, excuse me. But I also kind of want to do a thing. I don't know if you watched Chowder when you were younger. I don't know if that was a thing in the good old UK. Yeah, it's the really long arm. But in the UK, or in Chowder, they would use coloring. I forget exactly what the term is. But part of their costumes would be colored by a cutout in the back. AKA, as they moved across the screen, the texture on their like clothing would move or change or whatever, depending on where it is relative to the screen. And I want to kind of do something similar here. And I don't know how well I'm going to be able to do it. Yeah, actually exactly like that. Gradient tool. Make that super long. Yeah. Yeah, I know I can. Why am I blanking? That's why I'm blanking. Just do a quick old clean up on aisle I. That's a quote if I've ever heard one. Clean up on aisle eyeball. That works. And then yeah, I know I can do that on Photoshop. Let's just grab some placeholder colors. Ah. Oh, that's why. Okay, everything's closed off. Oh, I actually really. Ah! Ah! Oh my gosh, why am I like this? I can't believe I've done this. I am no sleuth when it comes to Photoshop. So. There we go. Oh my gosh. I can't believe. Have I been stimming that the entire time? Because, like, that's funny. Okay. Alright, so yeah, I can take this and. If I merge all this. Well, I don't even need to do all that. Technically, I could just do that. I'm pretty sure you can't do, like, clipping mask animations. Which is, like, I'm cool with that. But, like, and should I want to? Yeah. That works for me. At least for, like, an early video. This works perfectly fine for me. But, let's do a little detail on. Ah. Yeah, I can just do that. That shows that it's a shadow, at least to me. Who cares about a t-shirt? Who cares about a t-shirt? For all they know, I could be wearing. For all they know, I could just be wearing a huge mask. Um, I see what you're getting at though. So we are gonna fix. Then we'll make it just a gray. Who cares? This is beautiful. I'm a fan. Oh, if I saw this, I would subscribe immediately. Did it do the thing? Did the subscribe button do the thing? let's do a little thing, like a little callback to the original logo. Tell your mother about Deep Solar. Yeah, tell your college professor about a YouTube channel. You know what? That's actually a pretty nice addition. I like that. I'll do a little bit of detailing and then I'll hop off. Then beat a blue. That's not right. Yeah. You have 2 vids? What does this mean? What do you mean you have 2 vids? Why is that? Okay, well, you know what? I just work here. Oh, a conlang? You have videos on a conlang? My guy, and you didn't tell me? You didn't tell me about it? And you didn't tell me about it. I'm so offended. How dare you? Yeah. I figured I should at least do something. You didn't tell me. No, I'm gonna check those out. I'm actually gonna check those out after the stream. So thank you for telling me. Yeah, no, thank you for telling me. I just realized I'm wearing the Sans hoodie. This this guy is wearing the Sans hoodie. I really just made my character Sans. Didn't. Solar Sans. Get James here on. I'm actually glad that I decided to go with pastels for this. Yeah, he does look cool. Yeah, I'm glad I went with pastels for this. I've always liked the look of pastels. So, like... Well... Here he is. The guy you're gonna be seeing in the, lower left-hand corners of all of my videos. So... Yeah. But I got to catch up. I'm glad y'all stuck around. Yeah. Thanks for checking in, and I hope to see you at my next video. Or, yeah, at my video. Yes. Tell your mother about me. Tell your father about me. About the random nerd in your, YouTube stream. Yeah. Glad to hear from you. Glad to see you're still enjoying the content.